Hi, my name is Louticia Grier, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Today I'm here with Dr. Kenna. Dr. Kenna is going to talk to us about God's food, things that's going to help us to stay healthy and keep us healthy. Dr. Kenna, thank you for having me here again. I'm so excited to hear about God's food.
Absolutely, and it's a pleasure to be here with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with your clients and your viewers. And I think there's a lot of important information out there about maintaining health that a lot of people just don't really think about, and they don't really hear about too much unless they're really motivated to go into exploring their health. And so some simple things that we can do to be healthier in our lives, I think it's important for people to hear about. So,
yeah, because some people are just so busy, and some of them are taking care of other people, like hairdressers as well. They're taking care of other people. They don't take care of themselves. Nurses, doctors, sometimes, they just don't have time to take care of themselves. Even myself, I don't read enough or, look and see what's out there that can help me, and that's why I'm so happy that I found you. And I when I do find someone good, I say this again, I like to share with other people because you've been so inspirational to me. And the things that I learned from you, I think is so important to share with other people. So tell us about God's food.
Well, so basically what I call God foods and what some other people in my profession and my specialty, we talk about God food. And God food is to me one of the most important things we can do. One of them, there's many pillars to health that I think about and that I share with my friends and my family. But, in relation to food I call God foods, or things that God gave us and things that came from the earth naturally. And there's a big discrepancy about what those could be. And today we're living in an era where there's so much bioengineering of foods, there's so much genetically modified foods that they're really not the same foods that we were eating 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
No.
And they don't have the same nutritional levels, the same vitamin levels, they don't have the same mineral levels that they used to have. And so they're being, raised with necessities of pesticides. There's actually seeds out there and foods that are being grown that absolutely have to have a pesticide in order to grow.
Wow.
And so that to me is not an example of a God food. A God food is to me an example of an organic food that came from the ground, that came from a tree, that came from the earth, that came from soil, that was grown and naturally, and anything that was coming out of a bag or something that comes out of a box or something that came out of a factory is not an example of a God food. A God food has to be in its pure essential form. We're live beings, right? We're biological beings. We have live cells, live tissues, and so we have to eat foods that have live composites to them. That they have live components. That they are essentially they're filled with water, that rainwater, things that help them to grow naturally, and so there's a saying, this is live food for live people. If you're eating chips out of a bag, then that's not an example of a live food, that's an example of a dead food. You know what I mean? That's an example of just kind of like junk calories. And those
they're filled up with a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Even the ones that they try to grow and they want to grow bigger and faster, and try to you make something grow faster. It's all about profit.
That's all about profit.
It's all about
That's
profit.
the whole idea.
Keep us, ill, and they make more money. It's just it's really a shame, but I just want us to pay attention and to know these things. And when you're in a store, it may cost you a couple of dollars more, but are you worth it?
The thing is, you're looking at cost. Is it worth it? Yes, because if you may pay a little more up front, but in the long run, to prevent disease that you might be battling later on, which is very real, down the road. What is more cost effective? Is it more cost effective to prevent disease, prevent heart attacks, prevent cardiovascular disease, cardiorespiratory disease, prevent diabetes, and by paying a little bit
It's
more
so
now,
big now.
absolutely it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, everywhere you look, someone's talking about your clients, your relatives, someone's got diabetes. It scared me to death.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to take another test, but when the doctor told me borderline, I was borderline diabetic. Every time I think about it, it just worries me to no end because my family, my mom's sisters, which I never even met them, but they had diabetes, and they have to remove limbs and things, and so when I think about that, it just scares me, to no end of what is diabetes. And then it makes you really want to know what is diabetes and what causes diabetes. And I had incidents with my health, and it just made me, when the doctor told me, you should come down on your weight, you should really exercise, you best believe, if something happens to me, it's not going to be my fault. I'm doing everything that they told me to do.
Yeah, and in relation to diabetes, we have to control our blood sugar, and if we're eating a lot of refined sugars, sweets, candies, those are things that are going to elevate our blood sugar. And now we have to even get a little more stricter with our diet, because we have to look at things like white potatoes.
Yes.
We have to look at things like white rice.
Yes.
Those things, they burn up fast. They have a high glucose value in the body. Has to basically produce a lot of insulin, which can scar arteries, can cause inflammation in the body, and that we have to really control those things. And also another big factor that can be a factor in diabetes is actually breads, like white breads, wheat breads, flour products. Those things have gluten, proteins, which are dangerous to the body, and we have to really start eliminating those things or keep them at a very, very low level of ratio in our daily
Trust me,
calories.
I don't ever eat those anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't eat those. In fact, I'm enjoying the way I'm eating now. I feel much better. I don't even feel like I had any, big health issues, the big scare I had. What really bothers me is, I told my daughters this, is that we see these commercials when you were talking about the blood sugar and we have to watch our blood sugar. It does not make sense to me to see someone open a box of sugar. It's like the cereals that they have, it's just a big box of sugar, and the kids eat bowl after bowl before they go to school, and this is what you're starting your child's day off
There's
with.
No nutritional value.
No, but they see it on TV. This is what they're promoting to us.
Yeah, exactly. There is a big problem with that, with promotion of sugar and things to kids, because that's what appears fun, and they make it fun, and so the kids want cookies and cake and ice cream and stuff like that, but they're growing bodies, they're expanding bodies. They really do need much more nutrition to give them. So we really need to do a swap for the sugars back to more God foods, more natural things, and if we're I want to talk about gluten, which is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. But gluten is extremely damaging to the body, and gluten can be found. And people ask, what is gluten? Well, gluten is a protein that is found in wheat products, flour products, and gluten is, it's in breads, pastas, it's in cakes, cookies, it's in anything that's made with a traditional wheat flour. And so why is it dangerous? And people say, well, back in the Bible days they ate bread, and they,
was it the same kind?
And they're causing extreme damage to the gut, inflammation in the gut. It's actually causing neurodegeneration, so there's a potential link to people to accelerate, and cause, dementia issues, Alzheimer's type issues. There's a big factor in the brain, but it's a big factor in the gut too. It destroys the gut, and it can cause a lot of chronic inflammation in the body. It causes chronic immunity. When people are eating gluten, that inflammation actually leads to an autoimmune process. We've heard of autoimmune diseases, and what is that? When you're eating gluten, the body is literally attacking itself. You're in immunity, so you're sick. Your body is actually in an immunity process on an ongoing basis. So people could have additional weight and bloating and gain just from the immune process that's going on from the gluten. So if you have any concerns about that at all, or any interest, I would strongly recommend people getting off of gluten altogether. It's just not worth it anymore. In my opinion, it's one of the most dangerous foods and one of the most dangerous things that we can be consuming in our culture is gluten and bread products. And switching back to alternatives, like a rice bread or gluten-free breads. They have quinoa flour, almond flour products nowadays. They have rice flour products, and you can get replacement. You can get gluten-free pastas, which are very good. You can get breads, which are very good, and so there are alternatives. You can even buy pretzels. I just saw pretzels recently from a friend of mine that had some really good pretzels, and so you can find your products. It takes a little work, but it will pay dividends in the long run if you can get off of gluten and start switching that and getting back into more God foods and getting back into eating a lot more live nutrients is really what we need. We need a real large supply of live nutrients.
That makes a lot of sense because, you know, before my incident, I used to have a lot of bloating. I would be so bloated and so uncomfortable after I ate. My stomach was just really, really messed up. And that was one of the things that they put on my, you know, they give you your paperwork when you leave the hospital now that I had, you know, intestinal problems before all that. But all the things that they told me to do and the way I eat now, I don't have that. You know, I don't even take anything when I eat my food now. I used to have, you know, gas pills, the, what's the other one they call, enzymes, and I used to have all of that stuff. Yeah. I had to have that before I ate my food. I was always uncomfortable. But the weirdest thing is that when you do have a life-threatening scare, you know, it makes you pay attention, and it makes you, you know, pay attention to what you're putting in your body now. It's like it took something like that to really wake me, ding, 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 wake me up and say, you know, you're gonna have to do better than this. You're a mature woman now, you know, and you should have been doing it when you were younger. That's why, you know, the young people that watch this and in their 20s, in their teens, just pay attention and listen to Dr. Kenna, because this is so important. Because when you get older, you don't, this stuff hits you harder when you're older. You know, like your mom used to say, the things that you do now, you're going to feel it later on. Oh yeah, you definitely feel it later on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so important.
Prevention is much better than trying to do repairing and alterations. It's much better to go forth with a preventative diet and lifestyle, and living off of plant-based foods as much as possible, and getting off of the red meats, getting off of glutens, and I would suggest people watching to eliminate gluten altogether. Lower their red meat a little bit. You know, red meat's not, you know, not the healthiest. You can have a little bit, but I would definitely, you know, suggest limiting that. And you know, another thing that can be damaging to people, you know, is the sugars. What causes inflammation? Inflammation in the body is what's really damaging, and sugars, refined sugars, things like potatoes, things that burn fast in the body, and also bad fats. Bad fats are also damaging to the body. So you get things like trans fats, which are found in, you know, French fries or fries.